So what I wanted to do in today's video was take you through basically my entire collection of wheel cleaning brushes and accessories, show you the different types that I use and kind of the pros and cons of each of them. So if you are looking for some recommendations, you can hopefully have a good starting point from here. So I'm going to kick things straight off with the brush that people are most probably familiar with on here, and that is the Easy Detail brush. And this is the large version of that brush. So this is a nylon style bristle brush. It's actually really hard to say, but basically this is great for reaching into quite small areas, as these bristles do really kind of flatten, and the bristles obviously give it decent scrubbing power. They do actually do both a small and a large version of this. I just have the large version, and I purchased this on the basis that I thought if I needed the small version I would get that at a later date. However, I actually really haven't found any wheels that I have struggled to clean using this. So I think that the gap between the brake disc and the alloy would actually have to be really small for this not to work. But obviously there is that option if you feel like you need it. So in terms of the advantages of this particular brush, I would say that the main one is probably that it fits into pretty much any wheel. You can also use this brush to clean the arch of the wheel as well as the barrel. However, I do think there are better options for this. The bristles on this are actually reasonably flexible, so they're not the best for scrubbing carpeted wheel arches, for example. However, I would say that the drawback of this brush really is the fact that it does have these bristles. They are a little bit softer than you probably would expect if you've never sort of used one of these before. However, they're not the best for really sensitive finishes like gloss black, diamond cut alloys and things like that. You are probably going to see some marring if you do use this, so I think there are better options out there if you do have wheels with a more delicate finish. However, it's a good brush, it's really good quality. I've tried knockoff versions of this in the past, which haven't worked quite as well when the handles have detached, bristles have come off and things like that. I've had this for at least a couple of years now and used it a lot, and it's showing no signs of breaking, so I'm more than happy with this. So next up on the list, if you are concerned about using a brush that has bristles and you're looking for something a bit softer, then this one from the Detail Factory is a really good one to look at. It does come with two interchangeable covers, so it's got this microfiber one which is nice and soft, but it also has this one which honestly I'm not really sure on the material, it feels kind of scratchy. I've never actually used this isn't something that I would be particularly interested in using, as as I said, it does feel quite abrasive, so I just stick to using the microfiber one. So in terms of the advantages of this one, apart from it being softer and safer on more delicate finishes, is that it does have those detachable covers, so it's really easy to clean this brush. You just take the cover off, it's got a little clip here, and just chuck it in the wash. It'll dry pretty quickly as well if you're spinning it in the washing machine. So yeah, just nice and easy to actually keep clean. Unfortunately though, this brush does have one pretty significant disadvantage, in that it is quite bulky. It has this kind of foam core where you put these sort of coverings on top, and that doesn't compress really at all. So if you have a really tight gap, for example on my car where there's the brake dust shields, I basically can't use that at all, so that is kind of unfortunate. Apart from that, it's a really good brush. The only other downside I'd say is that this is a pretty expensive one as well. So yeah, definitely something to consider there too. Now, if you are looking for something a bit cheaper that doesn't have quite as much of a problem fitting into smaller gaps, then this one from CarScope is probably the best option to go for. Now, this is the one that I use on my car because it does fit into smaller gaps, so I'd say around sort of 4.5 centimetres is where you're going to be about right with this. Anything tighter than that, and I do think you are going to struggle a little bit. It does compress quite a bit, but obviously not nearly as much as using one of those Easy Detail brushes. The benefits of this though is of course that it is nice and soft, so if you are looking for something for delicate finishes, again, this is going to work really well. Now in terms of drawbacks of this brush, the first one is that it can get quite heavy. This microfiber is pretty dense, so when it's full of water and sort of soap, it does get reasonably heavy, so that can be a bit annoying. The other disadvantage I'd say is that it does take a really long time to dry out, again due to how absorbent these fibres actually are. If I'm hanging it up to dry, even if I've given it sort of a wipe off with a microfiber towel and a bit of a shake, it can still take a couple of days to dry in cold weather. So just something to think about really, isn't as easy to clean as the Detail Factory one, because again, you can't remove the cover. So I tend to use this on wheels which are a little bit cleaner, so I don't kind of make it too grimy and make it too hard for myself to clean afterwards. Now, next up, we've got this one here, and this is the Easy Go brush, so same brand as the first brush that I used. Now, everyone who is not into detailing will probably refer to this as a glorified toilet brush. I can definitely see where they're coming from here, but this is absolutely perfect for cleaning wheel arches. The fibres on this are actually a little bit firmer than the Easy Detail brush that I use on the barrels. They're still reasonably flexible, but they do have a little bit more scrubbing power when it comes to cleaning carpeted wheel arches. And because of the shape of it, it means that you can reach right to the back, kind of reach all around that wheel arch. So this is a go-to option for me and something that I use on basically every single detail that I do. Now, the other option when it comes to cleaning the wheel arches is something like this, again from the Detail Factory. It's got a couple of nice things like kind of a rubberized grip, and you can definitely tell it's a well-made brush. However, when it comes to cleaning wheel arches, there are a very limited number of cars that this brush will actually fit in due to how big that head actually is. So on my car, absolutely no chance. On some big SUVs it can fit, but usually not as easily as the Easy Detail brush. If you've got, say, a massive truck, you live in the US or something like that, then maybe this will work a little bit better for you. But obviously with it not having the bristles all the way around like this one, I don't think it's as easy to actually reach the very back of the wheel arch. So yeah, something to consider, but I don't think it's as good as this. Now, next up, what I've got is a selection of tyre brushes to show you. Now, I've got the first one here, which is by Insta Detailing. A lot of companies do these. They're kind of described as the Tough Shine tyre brush, which means that they have really, really sort of firm bristles that have very little flex to them. So this can be good if you want to clean really, really dirty tyres, as it does provide a lot of scrubbing power. However, it does run the risk a little bit of sort of skating over the top of the tyre, and if you catch this on the alloys, then it isn't going to be good news. So it's just kind of a cheap and a cheerful brush to use, and one that I did use for a long time. It's very, very tatty now, but I have since upgraded it to this one here, which is from the Detail Factory again. They do make quite a lot of good brushes, and yeah, this one is a lot nicer because it has much more flexible bristles. Now, they're still firm enough to be able to give the tyres a really good scrub, but soft enough that they don't kind of skate over it, and they do work really well. I've really sort of leaned more towards this and use this pretty much all the time now. Again, rubberized sort of grip, a couple of nice features. I think they do a couple of colours of these as well, so this I definitely get a lot of use out of. And then the final one that I've got here is from CarScope. So in comparison to this one, you can obviously see that the face is bigger, so for chunky tyres this is ideal. However, for low profile tyres this is definitely the better option. The bristles on this aren't quite as soft as the Detail Factory one. They aren't nearly as firm as the Insta Detailing sort of Tough Shine one. So if you're dealing with sort of chunky SUV tyres and things like that, this is a good option to consider. But I do think probably the top spot should go to the Detail Factory one, as that is the one that I get the most use out of. Now next up I have this one here, and this is another one by Detail Factory. A lot of companies do these sort of ultra soft detailing brushes, but these are perfect for cleaning really intricate areas around the wheel. For example, the lug nuts and wheel nuts, and even some of the tight corners if you've got particularly intricate design of alloys. These are really great for that. Because they are really soft, they aren't going to cause any really sort of marring or damage. So again, a brush I use on pretty much every car. Now, in terms of cleaning the actual face of the alloy, I generally don't tend to use brushes. In the same way that I don't use brushes on the paintwork, because it's a painted finish, and yeah, it's pretty agreed that that's probably going to cause some marring and scratching. I like to follow the same approach when I clean the wheels as well, as usually they have painted finishes too. So I prefer to use microfiber. So I have a couple of mitts here to show you. So I've got this one here from the Rag Company. This comes in a pack of 2 and it's the Ultra Cyclone wheel mitt. I can't remember which way around those words go, but these are my go-to option. I think they're really good quality, and the fact that you can put your hand into it and it's not huge means that you can reach behind the back of the spoke and clean that too. Definitely a good feature to have, so you can clean the entire wheel. I do also have this one, which is a wool style wheel mitt. So this one is actually from Autobrite. Again, you can pop your hand in it and clean behind the back of the spokes. The only disadvantage I'd say of this one is that you can't chuck these through the washing machine, so they are harder to clean. But they are really nice and soft, so if you have a car that's really well maintained, then you can definitely look at these too. Now, when it comes to actually cleaning the back of the spoke, obviously you have the option of using your wheel mitt to kind of tuck your hand behind there. But you could also use something like this, which is from CarScope, called the Wheel Weasel. And yeah, basically it's just a microfiber sort of strip with 2 kind of handles on the side, and you can use this to clean behind the back of the spokes. If you're using something like the Detail Factory brush though, which has those interchangeable covers, then you could take that off and use that too. It's obviously going to depend on what you use. I don't use this all the time. It is a little bit awkward sometimes to do. However, I don't think it's a bad idea to use something like this, or even if you just use a microfiber cloth. It's a little bit harder to use, but it still will work to a degree to clean the back of the spokes if, say, you are struggling to reach behind them fully with a wheel mitt. Now, if you're well up on your wheel brushes, then you'll know that there's one brand missing here that I've not got, and that is the Wheel Woolies brand, which are a very popular option. Obviously, they're a lot softer than the Easy Detail style, so going to be better for more delicate finishes. However, the reasons that I've not gone for them here is because they are a little bit more expensive than the options that I've chosen. And also they do come in a set of 3 because the bigger ones are quite bulky, so you can't really use those for a lot of wheels. So that's the reason why when I was purchasing a brush for my car, I went for the car scope one, because it would fit into my car but wouldn't have to use sort of loads of different wheel brushes to clean different areas, reach behind the calipers and things like that. So I like to just use one wheel brush and one arch brush. It just makes my life a little bit easier when it comes to cleaning them at the end. But I'm not totally opposed to using the wheel woolies. If anyone does think that they are better than the options that I've used, then I'm definitely open to trying them, so please let me know in the comments. If you are looking to find any of these brushes, then I will of course link them all in the description. And if you have enjoyed this video, it would be brilliant if you could drop it a like, and thanks very much for watching.